podcast. My name is Haley Camarillo, author of Fury and Flame, book 1 of the Witching Hour series, which will be out this fall. Today I have with me Lynn Strike, the author of Reinakinn's Legacy. Hi, how are you? And thank you for being on today.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So can you tell us a little bit about your book? It is a YA fantasy, right? And you can get it at Barnes & Noble.
Yes. So it is a fantasy for young adults through children, families. It is a fantasy. It is set in the future. Lands have been renamed and there are new names for the rulers. There are Reinakins for queen, which is a combination of Reina and then like kin, kith and kin, and then Reinakinn for king, and they have presidents set under them to rule over areas. The story follows Reinakinn Adela and Reinakinn Benjamin, who are telling their grandchildren the story, this perspective of them telling their grandchildren how the nations truly came to peace versus what's in the history book.
Oh, that's very interesting. That's very cool. I like that. So what inspired this?
Well, it was actually my children. We read so many books. We love books. And we noticed a theme where like a lot of princesses have to be rescued or they're kind of mean. And then the princes are basically like a cardboard box. They don't have personality or anything. And I feel like that wasn't promoting people having conversations or working together. So we actually came up with a lot of short stories together of just like situations and fun things. And a friend of mine was like, you should take your short stories and put them together in a book. And I was like, I should. And so I did. Yeah, and that's what happened.
That is really cool. I love that your kids inspired that. That's amazing. So, tell us a little bit about your writing journey. What started it out for you? Have you always been a storyteller?
I do love stories. I love reading other people's stories. I loved listening to my grandparents' stories. That was actually why I did it from the perspective of a grandparent telling a story. Just stories that they're part of. Even legends can have a little bit of truth to them, and they're very fun. So this is the first book I ever wrote, and I had so much fun writing it. I think the biggest problem that I had was I got done with the first draft and I was super excited and I reread it and I went, this is crap. And so I started this like editing process, and through the editing process the characters like really took on a personality of their own, and then they were like off on these crazy adventures and I'm like, no, back here, like we have a plot. And then we didn't have a plot anymore. And it actually just kind of grew and it became really fun. And so I actually had fun editing it as I got better. So yeah, I guess that would be advice. If you're writing, your first draft might suck. And so hopefully the next is better.
That is awesome though. I love that that they just kind of took on lives of their own and just went off on their own little merry chase. So I'm guessing then that you are more of a pantser than a plotter.
Yes, I tried to plot. I was like, okay, they're gonna do this exact thing and move on. Like there's one scene where they're gonna have like a peaceful conversation, and the Reinakinn Adela back when she's princess, she actually gets very frustrated and the character got up and screamed at everyone that she was going to light them on fire. And I was like, why did you do that? So it did become a lot of pantsing. I was like, but I like it. It was just really funny. So I tried to plot, became a pantser, and then I had to like pull the plot back together as things got out of control. So.
That is so funny. As a fellow pantser, I totally understand that though. They have a mind of their own. You can't control them.
No, they can't.
You can kind of guide them a little bit, but once they start to go, they're gone.
Yeah. Did you find that you get them out of trouble? Like they end up in trouble and you're like, okay, we'll work you out of it. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Yes, now we need to figure out a way to get you out of this problem that I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting to happen.
Yes.
So,
Ran off and did their own thing. Now they're stuck.
exactly. So would you consider yourself a little bit more so very character driven then? Your stories are super character driven.
Yes, I did find that that's what worked with this one. I do have another work in progress that the characters haven't really developed as much of their own personality.
Okay.
So we're working on that. The first draft is done, and we're, hopefully they start to talk a little more, but that one's actually about an assassin and the agent on the hunt, and it's just a comedy too. So yeah, so I try to plot and hope for the best. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, if the characters want to run off now, I think I'll be ready. I'll be like, okay, go. Like,
you're like, okay, I'm ready. I've got the
yes.
pen ready. We're gonna go.
Yep. Just hopefully, don't kill yourselves. Like,
just don't die.
right.
So, speaking of characters, do you have a favorite character that you could tell us a little bit about?
So my favorite character in Reinakinn's legacy is definitely Reinakinn Adela. She's very, especially when she's younger in the story, she's a little bit headstrong. She kind of dives into situations without thinking first at all. She accidentally kidnaps the prince of another land without knowing who he was. Accidentally, things happen.
Right.
And then as she grows, she becomes much more, she thinks through things. She doesn't just blurt out words. And I really like the growth, and I really like her ambition, and just her personality is really fun. But my illustrator, she liked Prince Benjamin, who becomes Reinakinn Benjamin. And she goes, no, he's the best because he's so level-headed, and he's so kind, and he's so compassionate. And so, yeah, so the characters, they really did take on a life of their own. And I did have fun coming up with them. But yeah, I like Adela. She's a little bit headstrong, a little bit sassy. And so I had to have the prince kind of tone things down. He's the smart, like they're very level-headed, we're gonna get through this person, knows when to talk. So yeah, they're very fun.
Oh, that's fun. That's always a great combination. I have that in my book. So it's always really fun to see the level-headed one trying to deal with the impulsive one.
Yes. Yes, especially when they end up accidentally engaged. Like,
oh my gosh.
that happens. And they're both like, wait, what happened? So it's pretty fun.
That is awesome. I love it. So you had mentioned a little bit the struggle of writing Reinakinn's legacy, and that it was being that the first draft was kind of, you just fell flat for you. Were there any other struggles that you had?
I think a lot of it was I never thought it was done until I finally hired an editor, and I was like, do you want to look at this? And she goes, it's really good. She cleaned it up a little bit, misspellings. Terrible speller. And things like that. And she would like double check, like, did you want this, series of events to happen in this order, or like, would it make sense in another way? And other than that, I feel like the reassurance of like, okay, this is ready to publish did help, because I would have picked at it forever.
That is one of the super frustrating parts about the editing process, is once you get into that editing phase, you're like, it's never done.
No, and we're our worst critics. I'm always reading through it, and I was like, oh goodness, why did I do that? And then I'm like, oh no, it worked, it's fine.
Totally understandable. Do you have a favorite scene that you could possibly share with us that isn't too spoilery, but one that like either just makes you laugh or it makes you just, smile, something like that?
I think my favorite scene is where the Princess Adela accidentally kidnaps someone. She's just in a point where she's very frustrated, and she thinks that by talking to this person who she doesn't know who it is, she's just like, oh no, it's the leader of this group that's been bothering farmers in the area. And she's like, if I talk to him, we'll settle this down. And she ends up, it ends up being royalty, and they have this ridiculous time together just in the woods, and he's confused and like, what's going on? They clearly know who I am, and I'm in huge trouble. And she's like, why is this farmer like just, he's not cooperating? And, nothing is like in their brains, it's not lining up at all. And then he thinks she's like a commoner because she doesn't dress very royal. She's kind of, she's very impulsive and a little bit headstrong.
Mm-hmm.
So she's in the woods in fairly plain clothes. And so he's like, oh my goodness, like it's assassins or witches that have gotten me, and I'm cursed. Like all these things going through his mind, and in her mind, it's completely different. And then later on, they can talk it out and come to resolution. But in that moment, there's the confusion. It always makes me laugh because kids are going to read it, and I want it to be funny. Like, how do you make kidnapping funny? Yeah. So yeah, I really like writing it, and I really like the characters and the immaturity that then later on gets resolved. I like when that happens. So yeah, it's got to be my favorite scene.
That's awesome. I love that. So did you want to tell us a little bit more about your current work in progress?
Well, at the moment I don't have a publisher for it, but the basic plot, as I'm editing it, I'm cleaning it up a little. So it's an assassin, and the assassin is very clever and has been getting away with this for a very long time. So it's this newer agent who's like, I've got this assassin, like, and they end up just chasing each other in circles. Mm-hmm. And they're both too clever, but in ways they kind of look past obvious signs, because they're like, no, this person couldn't be it. They're too nice. They're too, maybe too good looking, maybe too dumb in scenes. To be the assassin or to be the agent. And so the assassin's trying to take out the agent's trying to catch the assassin. They go in circles, and it's definitely comedic, definitely not to be taken seriously, but I'm loving it. The ridiculousn's of it all. And my mom even read it, and she was like, oh my goodness, this is so funny. And my mom is very critical of books, so the fact that she thought it was funny was like huge praise. Why is my mom like it? So yeah, that's basic idea. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, that they do get in a lot of terrible situations. Nothing goes well for them ever. So yeah, if you're a publisher out there and you want a comedy about assassins and agents, look me up, please.
Awesome. That sounds like a blast. I cannot wait for that. I think that we are through all of the questions today. We flew through those.
Yes, those are great questions, though. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for being on today. I had so much fun talking to you about your story. I think I want to pick up a copy so that I can read it to my little ones. I think
I'm so excited. I hope you do.
That. Yeah, I think they'd really enjoy that. So yeah, thank you again. I wish you all of the success. I hope that somebody picks up your work in progress. It sounds so incredibly fun. And everyone, again, you guys can get her book, Reinakinn's Legacy, at barnesandnoble.com, right?
Yes.
There, okay.
And right now it's online. You can get a hard copy or the ebook. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you again so much for being on. I loved having you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching the Witches and Prose podcast. We'll see you next time.